Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, I want to start with something I think pretty much every advanced English learner runs into. You know that feeling. You hear a sentence, maybe read it, and you know every single word, like individually. The verb, okay, the preposition, got it, but then put them together and the meaning just vanishes. It's like you have all the puzzle pieces, but they make absolutely no sense when you try to connect them. Total chaos.
Yeah, that frustration, that kind of semantic breakdown. Almost always, it comes down to one specific thing, the phrasal verb.
These little combinations, they seem simple, but they're incredibly powerful. They're really the gatekeepers to sounding, truly natural in English.
So that's our mission today, right? To unlock that gate.
Exactly. We've pulled together a whole stack of resources. We're going to define them, sure, but more importantly, explain why they're so crucial. And we'll give you the roadmap, the context you need to actually start using them to move your English from just, well, correct, to sounding really effortless and natural. Okay, clarity and application. That's the goal. Let's get these tricky things from confusing to automatic. So, basics first. Even though the basics here can be a bit slippery, what exactly is a phrasal verb based on our sources?
Well, at its core, it's pretty straightforward. It's a simple verb like look or give paired with a particle.
And a particle is just a preposition or an adverb, right? Like up, down, in, after.
Precisely. But the defining thing, the real trick, is that this combination creates a whole new meaning. A meaning you usually can't figure out just by looking at the verb and the particle separately.
Right. It's not just addition. It's like linguistic alchemy, as you said. You take look, which means see, add after. And look after suddenly means
Take care of. Nothing to do with seeing. Or give, meaning to bestow. Add up, and give up means stop trying or quit. So the structure is simple. Verb plus particle. But the result, a completely new, often non-literal meaning. Exactly. And understanding the new meaning is step one. But step two, understanding the grammar of how they work, how they combine. That's absolutely non-negotiable if you want real fluency. We'll definitely get into that.
okay, so let's tackle the big question first. I imagine everyone listening is thinking, why bother?
Yeah.
If I can just say discover instead of come across, or maybe enter instead of come in, why learn all these complicated little phrases? Does it really make that much of a difference?
That's a really fair question. And the answer from all our sources is a clear yes. It makes a huge difference, especially if you're aiming for, real competence, advanced level English.
Yeah.
There are two big immediate impacts we need to talk about.
Yeah.
How you score on tests like IELTS and just your basic ability to understand spoken English.
Okay, let's start with the tests. IELTS, TOEFL. They have that lexical resource score, right? Vocabulary range and quality.
Exactly. And examiners. They're specifically trained to listen for vocabulary that sounds natural, that sounds native-like, not just, a long list of fancy formal words you memorize. So if you're aiming high, like band 7 or above, using phrasal verbs correctly, things like figure out instead of understand or set up instead of establish, that's seen as using natural vocabulary.
Ah, so it's like a marker. It signals your English is fluid, not just something you learned from a textbook.
Precisely. Saying, I discovered a new cafe is fine, it's grammatically perfect, but it doesn't score as highly in terms of naturalness as
I came across a new cafe.
exactly, because that's what a native speaker would almost always say. Substituting discover with come across shows you understand register, you understand the sort of economy of language that native speakers prefer.
Economy of language. What do you mean by that?
Well, phrasal verbs are often shorter, quicker. Think look into versus investigate, or put off versus postpone. They often require less cognitive effort for a native speaker to process and use in fast conversation. That's a big reason why they're so common.
Okay, that makes sense. And that leads right into the second point, doesn't it? Listening comprehension. If I don't know these, I just can't follow real conversations. You really can't. The sources are clear. Native speakers use phrasal verbs constantly, like almost always in informal speech.
Let's take that example again, the train. You hear, the train was held up. If you only know hold means grasp, and up means, well, up, you've missed the entire point.
Right, you have no idea the train was delayed.
None. You have to know hold up means delay. Without that specific phrasal verb knowledge, you might only understand maybe 50% of a casual chat or even a news report. You're just catching individual words, not the actual message.
And this really highlights the difference between like classroom English and how people actually talk. Native speakers aren't usually going to say, the manager requested that we postpone the meeting.
No way. They'll say, the manager asked us to put off the meeting. Or instead of telling someone to formally enter the room.
We just say, come in.
Exactly. Or we must depart becomes we need to head out. If you only know the formal words, you'll sound, well, a bit stiff. Or worse, you might completely misunderstand instructions or requests in everyday life, at work, anywhere really.
Okay, this is crucial. But before we dive into the huge lists of examples, there's that really important warning about where to use them, right? If they're so good for fluency, are there times we should actually avoid them?
Yes, absolutely vital distinction here, especially for listeners aiming for high-level accuracy in different contexts. The sources are very clear. Phrasal verbs belong primarily to informal situations. So great for conversation, emails to friends, probably most day-to-day work chat. Perfect for those. But, and this is the big but, you generally need to avoid them in things like academic writing essays, research papers, or very formal legal documents.
In those cases, you stick with a single, more formal verb.
Yes, you'd use commence instead of kick off in your thesis abstract, for example.
That's all.
Or investigate instead of look into in a formal report. Part of mastering phrasal verbs is knowing when not to use them. It's all about choosing the right register for the situation. That formal versus informal context is a really useful marker. Okay, but now we need to tackle the grammar, because just knowing the meaning isn't enough, as our sources stress. We have to understand two key concepts, transitivity and separability.
Right. And this is where it can feel a bit technical, but trust me, getting this down makes a massive difference in using them correctly. It stops you from making those common, slightly awkward mistakes. So first up, transitivity. What's that about? It's actually quite simple. It just asks, does this phrasal verb need a direct object to make sense?
Okay, like, if I say, my car broke down, that's a complete thought, right? The car did the action, it doesn't need an object. Exactly. Breakdown, in that sense, is intransitive. You don't break down the car. The verb itself contains the full meaning of stopping working.
But if you say, she looked after, well, that feels incomplete. Looked after what? Or who? Precisely. It needs an object. The kids, the plants, the project. So look after is transitive. Knowing whether a PV is transitive or intransitive is the first step to figuring out the second, more complex rule, separability. All right, let's unpack separability. This is about whether you can split the verb and the particle, right, by putting the object in between them. Yes, this is crucial. Phrasal verbs generally fall into two camps here, separable and inseparable. Okay, let's start with separable ones. These seem more flexible. Give us a common one.
The absolute classic is turn off. It's separable. Now, if your object is a noun, like the light, you've got options. You can say, please turn off the light. Particle stays with the verb.
Okay, or you can separate them. Please turn the light off. And both sound completely natural. Okay, but the sources point out a really critical rule here, don't they? What happens if the object isn't a noun like the light, but a pronoun like it or them?
Yes, this is the non-negotiable rule you just have to remember for separable verbs. If the object is a pronoun, you must separate the verb and the particle.
Must. No choice.
Yeah.
No choice. You cannot say, please turn off it. That sounds completely wrong, totally unnatural to a native speaker. You absolutely have to say, please turn it off. The pronoun, it forces the separation. Wow, okay, that's a huge rule.
So for any separable phrasal verb like kick up, put down, figure out, write down, if the object is him, her, it, us, them, we have to split the verb and particle.
You got it. Pick them up, put them down, figure it out, write it down, always separated with a pronoun object. Okay, that clarifies a lot. Now, what about the other side, the inseparable ones? These are simpler in a way because the rule is absolute. The verb and particle stick together like glue. Always. The object always comes after the particle, regardless of whether it's a noun or a pronoun. Regardless. Think back to our example, look after. It's firmly inseparable. You have to say, look after the children. Yeah, you can say, look the children after. Never. Sounds terrible. And even if the object is a pronoun, like them, it still comes after the combined phrasal verb. You must say, she looks after them, not she looks them after.
Definitely not. Also completely ungrammatical. Okay, so when we learn a new phrasal verb, we really need to learn three things. The meaning, whether it's transitive or intransitive, and critically, whether it's separable or inseparable. And if it is separable, remember that pronoun rule. That's the package deal. Meaning plus grammatical behavior. Knowing look into means investigate is great, but you also need to know it's transitive and inseparable. Look into the problem. Look into it. Knowing go over means review is useful, but knowing it's also inseparable, go over the notes, go over them, prevents errors. It's that extra layer of knowledge that builds real accuracy.
Right. Armed with that technical knowledge, that context about separability, let's dive into the actual verbs. We've got loads of examples from the sources. Instead of just rattling off definitions, let's try to group them by function, make them a bit more memorable. And let's start with the real workhorses, the get and go families. Good plan. Get is probably the single most versatile verb in English when it comes to forming phrasal verbs. It covers everything from success and progress to movement to just, well, surviving.
Let's break down those functions. Okay, function 1, success and progress. What are the key get verbs here learners should grab first? For career progress, definitely get ahead. To get ahead in marketing, you need strong digital skills. It means progressing faster, being more successful than others.
And relationships.
Get along or get on with someone. Both mean having a good relationship. Luckily, my new team members all seem to get along really well.
Okay, and then there are a couple of really practical ones about completion and making contact.
Yeah.
Get through is brilliant because it does double duty. First, it means to complete something difficult or time-consuming, like, I finally got through all those emails. It's transitive and separable here. I got the report through.
Second meaning, also common, is successfully contacting someone, usually by phone.
Yeah.
The lines were busy, I couldn't get through to customer service. Inseparable in this sense. Context tells you which meaning applies.
And recovering from something, illness or maybe a tough time.
That's get over. You get over the flu or you get over a breakup or disappointment. It took him a while to get over losing the final match. It's transitive, but always inseparable. Get over it.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly to movement. This is where get feels super common in just everyday chat.
Absolutely fundamental for talking about travel and commuting. You get in a car or a taxi, usually smaller private vehicles.
But you get on a bus, a train, a plane, a boat larger,
Oh,
for
that's
transport.
good. Yeah.
Exactly. And the reverse. You
Oh.
get off the bus or train, and you get out of the car or taxi. Interesting distinction between in-out for cars and on-off for public transport.
Yeah, it's a subtle pattern native speakers follow instinctively. And get off has another really common meaning. To finish work for the day. What time do you usually get off? Or, I get off at 6.
Right.
Okay, the third group for get seems to be about difficulty, survival, and escape.
Yeah, these are really useful. Get by is essential for talking about managing with limited resources, usually money. With inflation so high, many families are struggling to get by. It implies just managing, just surviving.
And escaping.
Getaway usually means escape for a break or holiday. We're hoping to get away to the coast for a few days. But it can also mean literally escaping from somewhere bad. And if you're trying to avoid a rule or obligation cleverly,
You try to get around it,
Yeah.
like getting around the tax law. Exactly, finding a loophole. And the negative emotional one, get down. Beer. Yeah, if something gets you down, it makes you feel sad or depressed. This rainy weather is really starting to get me down. It's separable. The news got him down. And we can't forget the super practical 3-part one. Get rid of. Yeah, yes. Verb plus particle plus preposition, meaning to eliminate or dispose of. I really need to get rid of these old shoes. Absolutely essential phrase.
Okay, let's move to the go family. These seem more about flow, direction, continuation, maybe change.
That's a good summary. For continuation, the most basic are go ahead, which means proceed or give permission.
Like, go ahead, you can start.
Right. And go on, meaning simply continue. Sorry I interrupted, please go on. Or the meeting went on for hours.
And for review and change?
Go over is the absolute key verb for reviewing something carefully. Let's go over the presentation slides one last time. It's transitive and inseparable. We'll contrast it later with run over.
Okay. And change, well, the obvious ones. Go up for increase and go down for decrease. Prices have gone up again. Profits went down last quarter. Very common. Finally, for go, there are ones about opposition or completion, and that interesting one about things exploding or spoiling.
Right. If you oppose something based on principle, you might go against it. He decided to go against his family's wishes and pursue art. And if you complete a difficult plan, especially one people advised against, you go through with it. Despite her fears, she went through with the parachute jump. And the one that means very different things, go off. Yeah, context is everything here. It can mean explode or make a sudden loud noise like an alarm or a bomb. My alarm clock didn't go off this morning.
Or it can mean food or drink has spoiled, become bad.
Exactly. Don't eat that yogurt. I think it's gone off. Very different outcomes depending on whether it's your alarm or your milk.
Okay, let's switch tracks. Let's look at phrasal verbs that signal the start and end of things. Commencement, cessation, reversal. Starting things first.
Right, getting things moving. Kickoff is very common, but informal, for starting an event, meeting, or game. The CEO will kick off the conference at 9 a.m.
And starting a journey.
We often use set off. We need to set off early to avoid the traffic.
What about starting something new, like a hobby or maybe a commitment?
That's often take up. It's separable.
Yeah.
He decided to take up gardening in his retirement. Or Her new job takes up all her time.
And acting on
You
information.
act on it, the police acted on the anonymous tip. And you can work up things like an appetite after exercise or courage before doing something difficult or even anger. It means to develop or generate. He worked himself up into a rage. Okay, now the other side. Stopping, quitting, canceling. This feels like a bigger category, maybe more complex. It often is. Setting limits, ending things. The absolute classic is give up, meaning quit or stop trying. She finally gave up smoking. Or don't give up. It's separable when it has an object. She gave smoking up.
And canceling planned events.
Call off, also separable. They had to call off the picnic because of the storm. Or they called the search off.
And for businesses closing permanently, shut down, often used for factories, shops, websites. The company shut down its overseas operations. Can be separable. They shut the factory down. I like how the sources contrast similar sounding ones, like the back verbs.
Yeah, those are easily confused but mean very different things. Back out means to withdraw from an agreement or commitment you previously made. Often implies letting someone down. The main investor backed out of the deal.
Whereas back off means to retreat, stop pressuring or threatening someone.
Exactly.
It's often used as a command. Tell them to back off. Very different intentions. And the break family. Wow, they seem mostly negative, right? Failure, ending things.
They often do signal some kind of cessation or malfunction. Break down, a car breaks down, negotiations break down, someone breaks down crying.
Relationships break up.
Yep. Engagements can be broken off, often implying suddenness. Though break out is a bit different, it means to escape, like from prison, or for something unpleasant like a rash or a fire to start suddenly. A fire broke out in the kitchen. He broke out in cold sweat. Okay, last into this section. Verbs for reduction and elimination. Very practical. For reducing things like spending or consumption, we use cut back or often cut back on. Both are separable. We need to cut back our expenses. I'm trying to cut back on sugar.
And completely getting rid of something, like a rule.
Do away with. It's inseparable. The school decided to do away with Saturday classes.
More specific eliminations.
You might zero out a financial balance, make it zero. A doctor might rule out a possible illness after tests. The blood test ruled out any serious infection.
Okay, moving into the mind and mouth now. Phrasal verbs for mental and communication states. How we think, understand, discover, and talk. Let's start with understanding and discovery. Right, crucial pair here. Figure out and find out. Both separable. What's the difference again?
You figure out something by thinking, problem solving, calculating. I need to figure out how to assemble this IKEA furniture. You find out information by discovering it, being told it, or researching facts. Can you find out what time the train leaves?
Okay, figure out, solve, find out, discover. Got it. What about when you're trying to process a lot of information?
You take it in. Also separable. There was so much to read. It was hard to take it all in. And remember, make out. We mentioned it earlier.
Right, context is key. It can mean understand something difficult to hear or see.
I couldn't quite make out the sign in the distance, or what did you make out from his mumbling?
Or it can mean kissing. Very different.
Very different. And if you suspect someone isn't being truthful, you see through them or their lies, it's inseparable. You detect the deception. She saw right through his excuses.
Okay, let's talk about communication nuances. Constructive dialogue versus, well, being rude. For positive communication, talk over means discuss something thoroughly. We need to talk over the budget proposal. Inseparable. To explain your ideas effectively, you put them across. Separable. He's great at putting across complex ideas simply and checking if an idea is okay before proceeding.
You run it by someone, separable. Could you run that idea by the legal team first?
Okay, now the rude side. Important to recognize these, even if you don't use them.
Definitely. If someone, especially a child or junior person, replies disrespectfully to someone in authority, they talk back or answer back. These are usually intransitive. Don't talk back to your teacher.
And speaking condescendingly.
That's talk down to someone. Inseparable. Treating them as if they're less intelligent. I hate managers who talk down to their
And what about implying something without saying it directly, hinting? You're trying to drive at something or get at something. What are you getting at means what are you trying to imply? For thinking and planning, we have think through, consider all aspects and consequences really thoroughly. Separable. We need to think this plan through carefully and think over.
Similar, but maybe slightly less exhaustive. It means consider something before making a decision, like a proposal or an offer. Also separable. Let me think it over and I'll get back to you. Okay, finally in this mental communication block, emotional states. right? Managing feelings. You tell someone to calm down or cheer up. You might tell someone who's too stressed or serious to lighten up.
And restraining
You
emotions.
hold back tears or anger or information, separable. She managed to hold back her anger. He held the real reason back.
And the more extreme negative state.
You might freak out if you panic or get really agitated. He freaked out when he saw the spider. And if someone's stuck in a negative mood, you might tell them to snap out of it, recover quickly. Come on, snap out of your bad mood. Okay, last major category now, phrasal verbs for managing people and tasks. Authority, organization, getting things done. Starting with authority and compliance. Defining the power dynamic. If someone uses their authority excessively or annoyingly, they boss people around. Separable. Stop bossing me around. When companies need to reduce staff, often temporarily, they lay off workers. Separable. They laid off 10% of the workforce.
At forcing someone out.
Informally, you might kick someone out of a place or group. Separable. He got kicked out of the club for breaking the rules.
And the opposite of asserting authority, yielding.
That's give in. To surrender, yield to pressure or demands. Inseparable. The government refused to give in to the terrorist demands.
And sticking firmly to something. Two useful, inseparable ones here. Stick to means follow a plan, diet, or rule strictly. You need to stick to the budget. And stick with means continue supporting or using something or someone. I think I'll stick with my current phone for now.
Okay, practicalities now. Storing and submitting.
Everyday organization. You put away things like clean clothes or toys, store them. Separable. And you put back things where they belong, like a book on a shelf. Also separable.
And for submitting work, like homework or reports.
Commonly, hand in or turn in. Both are separable. Please hand in your essays by Friday. Did you turn your assignment in yet?
And writing things down.
For quick notes, you write down or jot down information. Both separable. But if you're preparing a full, detailed, often formal document based on notes or research,
You write it up. Exactly. Separable. She needs to write up the minutes from the meeting. He's writing up his PhD thesis. And related, take down can mean write down notes, especially from dictation or a speech. Separable. Okay, the last family in this section, another really versatile one, the luck family. Searching, caring, investigating. Super important and mostly inseparable. We've had look after, care for. If you're searching for something lost, you look for it. I'm looking for my keys.
if you're investigating a problem or crime,
You look into it. The committee will look into the allegations for finding specific information in a reference source like a dictionary or database.
you look it up. That one's separable. Yes, look up the word or look the word up. And the simple warning, look out, meaning be careful.
Yeah.
And finally, the look of verbs that show attitude or feeling.
Right. If you're anticipating something pleasant, you look forward to it. Always followed by a noun or gerring form. I'm looking forward to the weekend. I look forward to meeting you.
And the negative one, feeling superior.
Look down on someone. Inseparable. Means to despise or consider someone inferior. It's not right to look down on people just because they have less money. Phew. Okay, we've covered a huge range there, grouped by function. But now we need to tackle something maybe even trickier. Those phrasal verbs that have two completely different meanings depending entirely on the context. The sources call them polysemous, but let's call them the double-duty PVs. Yeah, mastering these is a real sign you've got a handle on things because context is literally the only clue you have. Let's look at some common culprits.
Okay. Top of the list has to be pass out. If someone says he passed out at the meeting, I need to know pretty quickly which meaning they intend.
Absolutely. Perfect example. Meaning number one, often the more worrying one is to faint, to lose consciousness. It was so hot, several people passed out during the ceremony.
Okay. And meaning number two, much more mundane. To distribute things, usually papers, to a group. Could you please pass out these flyers? Or the teacher passed out the exam papers. A medical event versus handing out sheets of paper, totally different.
Right. Okay, what about take down? We had it for writing notes.
Yes, take down the details or take the details down, separable. But it also commonly means to physically remove something that's hanging up or assembled. It's time to take down the Christmas decorations, or they took down the scaffolding.
Ah, okay. Physical removal versus recording information. Another big gap. How about run over?
This one's crucial because one meaning is so serious. Usually inseparable in this sense, it means to hit someone or something with a vehicle. Tragically, the cat was run over by a car.
Okay, that's the bad one. What's the other meaning?
The other meaning, often separable, is a synonym for go over, to quickly review or summarize something. Let's run over the main points one more time. Or, can you run the figures over with me? Wow, So run over the report means review it, but run over the report could also horribly mean you drove your car over it. Context is everything.
Everything. Another tricky separable one is set aside.
Okay, what are the meanings here?
Main meaning is to reserve or save something, usually time or money, for a specific purpose. I try to set aside some time each week for exercise. We set $50 aside for the trip.
All right, saving or reserving. What else?
In more formal or legal contexts, it can mean to disregard, annul, or separate something, like a judge might set aside a previous verdict, or you might set aside your differences to work together. Again, the situation tells you which meaning applies. Okay, let's shift slightly to verbs describing how people interact. Conflict and agreement. Essential for describing dynamics, absolutely. For conflict, things can get heated. Fallout means to have an argument or disagreement, often leading to bad feelings. Usually used with or over. They fell out with their neighbors over the fence. It's inseparable.
And strong criticism.
Lay into someone. Also inseparable. Means to attack someone verbally. Criticize them harshly. The coach really laid into the team after they lost.
Yeah.
And if someone habitually criticizes others, especially behind their backs,
They run people down separately.
yeah, he's always running down his colleagues. It's really unprofessional.
Okay, so how do we resolve these conflicts? Verbs for agreement.
If someone finally changes their opinion and agrees with you after resisting, they come around. Inseparable. He was against the idea at first, but he eventually came around. When people negotiate and finally reach an agreement after a lot of discussion and compromise,
They hammer it out.
Yeah.
Separable.
exactly. The lawyers spend all night hammering out the details of the settlement. And for resolving smaller problems or differences to reach a final agreement.
You iron them out. Also separable.
Right. We just need to iron out a few minor issues before we sign the contract.
Yeah.
Okay. Last group in this section. Money and commerce. Can't avoid these. Nope. Essential vocabulary. When you finish paying a debt completely, like a loan or mortgage, you pay it off. Separable. It took them 20 years to pay off their student loans.
And returning money you borrowed from a person.
You paid them back. Separable. I need to pay Sarah back the money I borrowed.
Okay. And the retail terms from the sources. Pricing.
Retailers will mark up prices, increase them from the cost price to make a profit. Separable. And during a sale, they mark down prices, reduce them. Also separable. These jeans have been marked down by 30%.
Earning lots of money quickly. The evocative one, to rake in money or profits. Separable. Implies earning large amounts easily or rapidly. Their new app is really raking it in.
Yeah.
And financial rescue. Often used for governments or large institutions rescuing failing companies or banks. They bail them out. Separable. The central bank had to bail out the struggling financial institution.
Oh, okay. We have covered an enormous number of phrasal verbs. We've talked about why they're so vital for sounding natural, and we've dug into the crucial grammar of separability and transitivity. But the big enemy here for any learner is just information overload. Memorizing hundreds of these feels impossible. So what's the actual strategy? What do the sources say is the best way for you, the listener, to actually make these stick without just relying on dry memorization?
Yeah, this is key because the sources explicitly warn that just memorizing lists doesn't work long term. There's a phrase in one source, something like, if you don't practice application, memorized things will be lost. Rote learning just fails for active use.
So it's not about trying to cram hundreds at once. What's the manageable daily approach? Keep it small, but be consistent. The clear advice is to focus on just 3 to 5 new phrasal verbs each day. That's it.
Only 3 to 5. That sounds doable.
Exactly. It prevents that feeling of being overwhelmed. It
Yeah.
gives your brain the chance to actually process them properly, to move them from just passive recognition, oh yeah, I've seen that one, to active recall and use.
And critically, this daily practice can't just be looking up the definition, right? Context is king.
Absolutely essential. The next step is immediate personalization. You must connect that new phrasal verb to your own life, your own experiences.
How does that work in practice?
So if you learn get by today, don't just write the definition. Write a sentence about how you are getting by this month, or maybe how your friend got by when they were studying abroad, or a hypothetical about your city. Make it relevant to you. That personal connection anchors it in your memory network way better than a generic example sentence.
Okay, so learn 3-5, create personal example sentences, and then the final piece.
Immediate application. Don't wait. The sources say essentially, when you speak, start using them right away. You have to force yourself to activate them.
So consciously plan to use them.
Yes, if you learned kick off, talk over, and wrap up today, and you have a meeting tomorrow, actively plan where you can slot those in. If you're meeting a friend for coffee, maybe try to use catch up, head out, or look forward to. Make it a conscious part of your active vocabulary from day one. It needs to become a verbal habit, not just something you know on paper.
And this strategy really loops back perfectly to our starting point, doesn't it? That tiny shift from a formal verb to the right phrasal verb is what makes the difference. It's the transformation engine. Think about it. A perfectly correct sentence like, she cares for her elderly mother. It's fine. But compare it to the natural, flowing, native-like version. She looks after her elderly mother.
Kazoo! It just sounds bad.
More fluent, exactly. And achieving that better sound comes down to this strategy. Consistently learning a few, personalizing them, and immediately using them. That's how you bridge the gap between sounding technically correct and sounding genuinely natural in English. Okay, so this deep dive has really been about unpacking, well, kind of the hidden engine of fluent English, hasn't it? We've seen phrasal verbs aren't just extra vocabulary, they're fundamental. They're key for understanding, key for speaking naturally. And mastery isn't just about knowing the meanings, it's about grouping them, understanding the grammar, especially separability, and crucially, building that daily habit of contextual practice, not just memorization.
Absolutely. And through all these examples, from get by to look after to figure out, we've really seen just how dynamic and, well, flexible English can be. I mean, think about that one simple root verb we touched on, turn.
Yeah.
Just one syllable. But add a tiny particle, and look what happens. It can mean rejection. She turned down the offer. It can mean arrival. He finally turned up an hour late. It can mean deactivation. Don't forget to turn off the lights. And it can mean reversal or improvement. The company's fortunes finally turned around.
Wow, rejection, presence, switching something off, changing direction, four totally different concepts, all from turn plus one little word.
Exactly. And that ability, that semantic power, where two small words can create such distinct ideas while still following those specific grammatical rules of transitivity and separability we talked about, that is the real beauty and maybe the real challenge of the language you're working to master. That flexibility is what you unlock with this knowledge. So keep practicing. Keep those 3 to 5 verbs active every day. Personalize them, use them.
The fluency is definitely within reach. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll see you next time.